the poison fridge, and the emotional heist. In a quiet neighborhood, a sinister plot unfolded with terrifying precision. Individuals driven by greed, insecurity, and dark spiritual manipulation were methodically poisoning food inside refrigerators, hoping to cause illness or death. Their target was clear: unsuspecting victims who believed themselves safe at home. Central to this wicked operation was a manipulative figure known only by her sign, a water sign in reverse. Despite her clownish appearance, she radiated danger. Constantly surveilled by authorities, her increasingly reckless behavior showed a desperate confusion born of dark magic gone awry. Another unsettling character, obsessed with box braids, was so fixated on her vanity that she considered human sacrifice an acceptable means to achieving her desired look. She was described by those who knew her as not entirely human, something dark masquerading in human form, driven purely by envy and the desire for dominance. Nearby, a figure identified as Leo in reverse sought reconciliation with an ex-partner, but his intentions were purely sinister. He planned to use the reunion to perform sex rituals and dark practices, exploiting vulnerability to exert control and harm. Deeply embarrassed and insecure from past failures, he refused accountability, spiraling further into destructive actions. Stalking intensified as another obsessed individual began surveilling the new romantic partner of their former lover. Exhibiting highly unpredictable behavior, this stalker was willing to resort to violence to reclaim control, further inflaming the community's anxiety. Meanwhile, a hired hitman known for driving a conspicuous red vehicle became increasingly careless. Pressured by employers and frustrated by failed attempts, his incompetence became evident. His employers, a karmic network involved in drug trafficking, robbery, and manipulation, were losing patience. Eventually, the authorities noticed, initiating surveillance operations that led to several impending arrests. One prominent arrest was imminent for a figure described as a karmic twin soulmate, notorious for a series of violent crimes. Their apprehension brought some relief, but exposed how deep the network of crime and spiritual warfare ran in the community. More alarmingly, a prominent figure described metaphorically as a pharaoh used spiritual manipulation and dark magic to control and harm others. Deeply insecure yet influential, he desperately sought validation by wielding power over people's lives. His fall from power was inevitable, as evidence of his manipulation and abuse mounted. At the heart of the darkest practices was a character referred to as a robota, engaged deeply in occult rituals. This individual continuously attempted human sacrifices to gain personal power. Each failed attempt increased his desperation and moral decay, revealing his true nature as evil and grotesque. Another figure, a true psychopath, relentlessly attempted to control others through mental and emotional manipulation, inflicting fear to maintain power. His insecurity was palpable, a destructive force that eventually would lead to his undoing. Authorities closely monitored him, aware of his volatile nature and the imminent threat he posed. Further complicating matters, a woman named Barbara, involved romantically with a married man named Rashad, got into a public altercation, revealing the darker undercurrents of their affair. Rashad's jealous wife, identified as a Pisces named Wanda, was embroiled in retaliatory acts, further escalating tensions within the community. Simultaneously, two individuals, David and Tori, engaged separately in identity theft and drug transactions online, each unaware of the other but equally entangled in dangerous criminal acts that drew police attention. Adding to the community's unease was Eleanor, who recently committed murder alongside an accomplice identified only as having a name starting with Q. They not only took a life but drained their victims' financial assets, prompting immediate police action and a search for legal representation. The situation reached a critical point when someone from another country, aided by the Church of Scientology, attempted to carry out an assassination using powerful occult practices known as the Power of Three. Authorities foiled their plans, warning that anyone approaching their target would face severe consequences. Potentially fatal car accidents were mentioned as divine intervention. Finally, Guy, another disturbed community member, was under investigation for attempting murder since the previous October, illustrating the long-term sinister undercurrent running through the neighborhood. As arrests mounted and secrets surfaced, the community found itself at the center of a terrifying revelation. A hidden war fought with dark spiritual practices, criminal conspiracy, manipulation, and violence. The neighborhood's safety hung in the balance, awaiting justice to restore peace. exposing further details and potential identities for the investigators. Names and characters. Rashad, involved in a physical altercation with Barbara, someone else's husband. Barbara, engaged in conflict with Rashad, involved in suspicious activity. Tarek, purchasing drugs online using someone else's identity. David, independently buying drugs online using someone else's information. Guy, attempted murder in October, currently under investigation. Wanda, identified as a Pisces female, targeting someone protected by ancestors. Marissa, partnered with Wanda, involved in spiritual attacks. Isabella, Roy, Melanie, trio actively attacking individuals from a royal bloodline. Roy notably lives near water, river, lake, pond, ocean. Eleanor, recently involved in murder on a Saturday, possibly hiring a dirty lawyer. Female with name beginning with Q, involved with Eleanor in a murder, also involved with surveillance cameras in male B's home, tracked vehicle. Male named B, victim of surveillance cameras placed by Q, currently targeted by HIT. Caleb, Nathaniel, or initials in T, mentioned indirectly tied to certain crimes or locations. Fab, Emily, actively present, tied to stalking and rituals, possibly connected to child illnesses or skin conditions. Latifa, linked explicitly to repeated spell work involving foot and leg ailments. Kimura, repeated name with suspicious activity. Agnes, Agatha, Georgia, names indirectly mentioned in suspicious activities. Simon, facing imminent incarceration, crime involvement. Barry Barron, directly linked to suspicious activity and potentially violent crimes. Chloe, identified with specific harmful behavior involving illness transfers. Sam Smith, energy invoked, spiritual manipulation via invocation attempts. T, high income, U reverse, identified by initials, involvement in kidnapping or dangerous behaviors. Lucas, Luke, identified as involved or connected suspiciously. Charles, Charlie, possibly Charlie XCX, indirect mention in a crime context. Vehicles and car details. Gray Ford, driven by a suspicious female and her child molester boyfriend heavily implicated in ongoing criminality and trafficking. Red car, repeated mention, associated with criminal activities or suspicious presence. Black, white, silver, gray vehicles, general colors mentioned, specifically associated with surveillance or stalking scenarios. Professions, identities of interest. Dirty lawyer, connected to Eleanor and female Q, involved in murder defense. Hired hitman, individual repeatedly described as stupid or incompetent, actively trying but failing to complete criminal assignments. Pharaoh figure, someone powerful, manipulative, possibly from a spiritual or cult-like leadership role, exploiting others. Robot, a nickname for a spiritual manipulator or puppet-like entity, frequently mentioned as involved in dark rituals, spellwork, and sacrifices. Drug traffickers, dealers, actively involved with spellwork, blackmail schemes. Military personnel, possibly former, directly implicated in suspicious criminal activities. Quick exposure. Main criminal activities: murder plots, poisoning, blackmail, drug trafficking, spiritual warfare, spellwork, stalking, fraud, theft, surveillance, attempted sacrifices, intentional disease transfer. Hotspots, locations of concern: Norfolk, Williamsburg, Newark, NJ, Alabama, TD Bank, Wells Fargo, FedEx. Suspects to watch closely: Eleanor, Rashad, Barbara, Roy, Wanda, Marissa, Isabella. A gym trainer with hair breeds with darker skin tone, hotel massage center. Melanie, Q named female, Thorai. David, Caleb, Nathaniel, Fab, Emily, Latifa, Mora, Chloe, Lucas, Luke, Simon, Barry. Vehicles to watch: Gray Ford, red car, colors explicitly mentioned black, white, silver, gray.